All right, in this video, we are going to create a new print layout so that we can add things like a scale bar and a legend and a bunch of other items if we want to onto this map. And then in the following video, we will save it as a PDF, which would be the way that you submit your assignments for this class. So one thing I noticed as I was looking at this, if you really closely, you can see a bunch of watermarks here, this 2020 Google watermark. And I was actually hoping that we could get a different base map in here for our map. There's also a little boat, little fishing boat right here. Look at this. Look at that little guy. So hopefully I'm going to zoom back to the layer here. I'm going to remove the Google hybrid from my map. So all I got to do here is right click on a layer I want to get rid of and click remove layer. It's going to confirm that I want to actually do that. I'll click OK. No more base map. No problem. I'm going to come up to web, quick map services. I'm going to use the Esri maps. And the Esri is the company that does ArcGIS and ArcMap, which is the programs that we usually use for GIS or the industry standards. Of course, their pandemic semester, we're using what is becoming an industry standard, this QGIS, the open source version. So let's click on Esri, and I'm going to do Esri Satellite. So you'll see we still have a nice sort of water background here. If I turn some of these other stuff, so you can see the imagery here. Nice water background, tree shadows, shallow area over here. I think that looks pretty nice. So we'll keep that. I'm going to save. Remember to save frequently. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go up to Project, and we are going to create a new print layout. Now, a single project can have multiple print layouts. So you may have a bunch of different maps you want to make with the same data. You can create multiple print layouts for the same map. And in fact, I created one. This is my little nonsense ASDF map from earlier. I'm not going to use that, but if you want to find a map that you've made before, go into layouts here and you'll be able to find it. So let's click on new print layout and call this class test. And a new window will open up with the layout view here. So the way this is set up, it's a little bit different from what we're used to. We have a bunch of tools on the left side over here. We have some navigation tools over here. And then over on the side here, we're going to have our items. So this is going to be a list of items that we can, like with Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, if you've used that before, we can turn items off and on, or we can lock items in this tab here. And this will be a little bit more clear as we add some more items to our map. And then if we highlight an item on the map here, we can modify its properties in this item properties spot over here. We could add horizontal, vertical guides if we want to, but we probably won't do that right now. If we want to change the size of our map document, just right click on the white canvas here, click page properties, and we can change the size from A4 to any of these sort of standard like letter, 8.5 by 11. ANSI, C, and D are sort of big poster size maps that we'll be using quite a bit. I'll stick with letter for right now. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to use this button right here. This adds a new map to the layout button. It's like this little page with a plus sign. This is almost always the first thing you do when you're creating a new print layout. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to give a nice little bit of padding. And when I say padding, I mean sort of the distance from the edge of the canvas or page to the map. So I'm going to do it basically based on these crosshairs here. I'm going to do the same thing down to here. I'm going to draw my map. Okay, first thing I noticed, this map is sort of long and tall. So maybe I should actually be doing a portrait rather than a landscape. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to right click on my canvas, this white part here, go to page properties. I'm going to switch my orientation from landscape to portrait. Oh yeah, that's going to be way better. And I'm going to give it a little bit of padding. and set it up here. Okay, so what we'll notice is that this is a little bit small here. If I want to zoom in or out, you'll notice when you use your scroll button on your mouse, all that happens is that you zoom in and out on the canvas. I want to actually zoom in and or out on the map. So if I want to zoom in here, first thing I need to do is I need to have my little arrow thing selected and click on the map. Then I need to click this Move Item Content button. I can click it here, or I can actually click it over in the map properties over here. And then I can use the scroll button on my mouse to zoom in to have the map fill up a little bit more of the full extent there. I like that. I'm now going to click back on my selector tool, and that's going to hold that sort of in place. All right, so now we've got our map set up in our document. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to click this little lock button. What this means is I can't select my map anymore and accidentally drag it around if I'm trying to select other elements on my map here. If I wanted to hide it temporarily from view, I could do that with the little eyeball over here. But now we have the option to add things into our map. So let's add in a scale bar, for example. I'm going to click this button over here, add a new scale bar to the layout. And I'll just draw it down on my map over here, down in the bottom. Really like sort of a really simple scale bar. To do the simplest scale bar, select the single box scale bar here. And what I like to do is I like to just bump this down to right 1, left 0, right 1. So we just get this like super simple little scale bar. We can have this in meters or feet. I think meters is kind of a nice convention. And then we can modify all different parts of this scale bar here. So we can come into fonts and colors. And so maybe let's make this white so that we can see that bar a little bit more easily. And then if we select our font here with this little arrow, we can choose a different font. I really like this Century Gothic font. I think that looks really nice. And to get the full selection of fonts, you're going to go back down to fonts and color, and you can just click on this box. And that opens up a font editor toolbar, which allows you to select from a whole bunch of different fonts. You can make them regular, bold, or italic. You can change the size. You can modify things like spacing between letters or spacing between lines. Lots and lots of different customization that you can do within here. Just click that back arrow like I did here. Click this back arrow to get back to the broader item properties. Okay, cool. So we got a scale bar now. It's a nice thing to have in every map. If I wanted to make this a little bit bigger, right now it's 0 to 25 meters. I could make it 0 to 50 meters. I'm modifying the properties here within the fixed width. I think that's 50 meters looks nice in this context. If I want to add some text, I'm going to come over here, add a new label, and I'll just draw some text here. We'll just call this Dome Island Canopy Height. I'll probably put this on 2 lines to make it fill up space in a different way. I'm going to come down to font here, go to recent fonts. I just use Century Gothic. I'll use that again. I want to make my font white, so I'm going to go down to the white part of this triangle. Looks like we got to make this font way bigger. So let's up that size. Cool, that looks pretty good. All right, so now we have Dome Island Canopy Height. You can see here in our table of contents, now we have these extra pieces. We got a scale bar. If you like the way that looks, you can lock it just so you don't accidentally modify it, move it. This is still unlocked, so we can move it around, but once we get it in a place we like, we can lock that up. So this is sort of how you add elements into your map. We can get into more of these later on. We can add things like arrows to our map. click on this. Let's imagine we wanted to point out this really big tree right here. I'm going to left click again, and then right click to end my sketch. I change the color of this to white to give it a little bit of emphasis. Same with my arrow. I'm going to go white and white on that. Just give myself a little emphasis. So now I've got this little arrow here. Why don't I come in? I'm going to add a little text box and say, really big tree, exclamation point. I'll go to my fonts. Maybe I'll go down to recent fonts. I really like and appreciate having consistency throughout my document here. So we've got really big tree. I'll make that a little smaller, and I can just drag that down here. I'm going to sit on top of that arrow. Okay, cool. We got really big tree right there. Dome Island canopy height. I'm not going to add a legend in right now. We're going to talk about adding in legends later on. If you do want to add a legend to your map, this little button right here, and you would just drag it. But we'll get into that in following videos. Save your projects. That's the last piece. Make sure you save your layouts and you save your documents. Save both of them, or else you will lose what you've been working on.